Thank you. Ambassador, special guests, in the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community and their sovereignty which is never ceded. And I acknowledge our elders across the ages who have paved the way through sacrifice, commitment and dedication for us to dream of a better future and thrive as Hellenes. It's my great pleasure to be moderating this panel on philanthropy and to introduce to you our panellists. In the Greek community, philanthropy has often been a reflection of heart, a strong sense of responsibility, and the enduring call of philotimo, which we've heard this morning repeated many times. For Greeks, philotimo is personal and collective. It shapes identity, strengthens bonds, and inspires everyday acts of kindness as well as profound gestures of service. It is in many ways the ethical heartbeat of Greek life, a noble orientation toward the good of others and the flourishing of a whole community. The women on our panel today each bring a distinct expression of philotimo through their philanthropic contributions, and I'm pleased to introduce Helen Mantzis, who has shown stewardship and philanthropic leadership in the arts and cultural sector, Alexandra Vakitsidis OAM, and Antoniou, who have advanced community-based philanthropic causes to improve health services and community programs and the lives of children and their families, and Stergitsa, Zamagias-Hill, who is a leading global humanitarian work through mobilising the Greek diaspora. Today we come together to glean insight from their paths and to elevate the influence of their exceptional contributions with the hope of amplifying the power and reach of their extraordinary impact as individuals. So, welcome. Hi everyone. So, in the Greek tradition, giving has always been rooted in kinonia, a shared sense of community, how we act with integrity, compassion and courage in response to what our community needs. Vicky, you are the founder and chair of the Children's Golden Angels. What is the future of Greek-led philanthropy that honours our heritage, stepping up whenever vulnerable children and families are in need?
Thank you, Faye. First of all, thank you very much, Your Excellency, for bringing us all together. What amazing women. I think I've been crying through the whole every session. Thank you to Larissa, his beautiful wife, always a wonderful wife, a wonderful woman behind every great man. Barbara and Steve Georgianis, our MP, thank you so much. 14 years ago, I decided to create a group of women, amazing women, who all Greek and of Orthodox faith. That was very important to me and important to them. I love being Greek because it gave me my faith, it gave me beautiful parents, ethics and a value in life that not many have. I felt for His Excellency because I too had a mother who did many things and inspired me. And they did it very quietly. My father used to come home from work at Holden's and go and paint the church or collect money because he heard some child was going to die. So from a very young age, my parents taught me that we have to give back because God has given us many good talents and we must use them for the benefit of the community. So I created Golden Angels, and the reason I called them Golden Angels is because, like angels, we were with children at the darkest time, but not present, but our gift was. So it began with palliative care, children in palliative care. South Australia is the only hospital that doesn't have a palliative care unit. We were disturbed by the fact that children were dying in wards with other children that were not so sick. And they didn't have many opportunities. There was a lot of research in palliative care, but not directly for the families. So what we did was we started off by when the children that were in palliative, if a little boy wanted to be a fireman, so we provided all the decoration for his hospital room. We provided him to go out with the fire engine and the fire so he could experience it. The same with little girls, all little girls want to be princesses, so we provided the funds to decorate their room so they experienced that before they died. We then, with the help of Bella built a holiday home with special equipment that families could go, because of course a family who has a child that is palliative or has, life-limiting disease cannot just go and have a holiday anywhere. So this provided the most amazing place for them. It was a room that they could go into and they could press buttons and they could be anywhere. They could be in Italy, they could be in France, they could be, fighting fires. And they had that beautiful 1 week of being with their families and having these wonderful memories. And then we found out about childhood dementia. So my husband and I were listening to the radio on the way to work and heard about this lady called Renee who had 3 children, all under 6, and they all had dementia. And not a lot of people know about dementia and find it almost impossible to believe, but it's out there and the statistics show otherwise. So 50% of the children do not make it past 10. And those that do don't really make it past 14 or 15. And I can say that 92 children die a year from cancer, 91 from dementia. So it's very hard to believe that it's not relevant, but I think people just don't want to believe it. And it accelerates in children. And thank you, Your Excellency, for this opportunity to actually tell people about this disease. I would like to thank all the people that were on the different panels because they inspire us. And I'm inspired by my 12 girls that are on the Golden Angels. We're inspired by our Lord, who told us was our best example, and Panaya is our patron. So we try to emulate what he said, which is to do things. And we say that if you're waiting for thanks or pats on the back or glory, then you're in the wrong industry because we don't want any of that. We just work silently knowing that we've made a contribution to somebody's life.
Very inspiring. And Vicky, your philanthropy is rooted in spirituality, which reflects Greek tradition and heritage, and very, very moving. Alexandra, you've played a leading role as a volunteer across Adelaide, and in particular in the health sector. How do you think we build participation, inclusion, and collective responsibility in fundraising and philanthropy?
Γεια σας. Εγώ η Alexandra. When I was 17 years old girl, no relatives, except my sister-in-law, people that didn't speak any English, the 68, to help me, the speaking. By the way, I was there in Port Adelaide. Very rare you can find people to help me. And one night before Christmas, I was going to the bed to sleep, and I couldn't sleep because I was crying. No relatives. No Christmas carols door to door. What kind of Christmas for me? And I have my 2 child. And the next morning, I get up with a smile on the face. I have the coffee tray. I put a Christmas card, and I was going to the Greek houses. Kalinispera άρχοντες. They opened the door. My God, they give me money. I put them on the try. Everybody that crying, they're happy. I was like $70 before 48 years. A lot of money. I thought, all I can do with this money, I have to help someone. I remember my father, he said, the Last Supper on the house before I leave. He said, where you going? Don't forget 5 things to have in your hands. And I said, what the 5? 5 fingers you have? You count now. The smile, the respect, and the love. And don't forget, on the road, everybody that walking on the same road. And don't forget, everybody that drink the same water. You're not going to say, this one is different from you. And then you can have all the happiness in your life. Open your heart, and after you can say, open your pocket. Oh, that's a good one. I have to keep. Every year, since then, I started with the children from the school to teach them how we have to have the Christmas culture, the Greek culture. Give the money to the research, to the oncologists and hematologists. The doctor professor, Peter, what's his name? Barry. He said, Alex, why are you doing all these things? Why are you helping us so much with such love? I said to him, don't worry. When you have the certificate to be a doctor, what you say, I can help the people. I was behind you. You didn't see me. And I hear about, that's why I'm here now. How many people they sick? Before 4 years, I knock on the door. Her mother, she say, oh, you come for the Christmas carol? I say, yes. This money they going for the oncologists and hematologists. And she say to me, coming inside, my daughter, she suffered from cancer, and myself too. When I was going to see the daughter, I said, don't worry. Next year, you can open the door for me. Now you lie down on the bed, next year you can stand up. She did. 2 years ago, she's up. She's still in life. Not because me, because all the other people, they're working so hard. I get only the money from the people and the love. Give them the love, they give you everything. And one of the bishops, he said to me, we can build a church, no money. I said to him, don't worry. We can fight together. All these people, they're doing something. And I said to him, I want the name, and I can start it with you in Greece. Χτίζω ναό, αγγίζω ουρανό. You give the love, you got everything. Everything. And you can sleep, you can have nice, nice dreams. God bless you. I have many, many stories, but they have the time. I told you, don't show to me the 5 years. The young boy over there. Thank you.
So, from incredible, humble beginnings and such power to be behind the scenes, but lobbying so hard for the benefit of others. Thank you so much for everything you've contributed. We move now to Stergitsa. Today, women, youth, and diverse Greek diasporic communities are emerging as powerful leaders in cultural preservation, social care, humanitarian advocacy, as we've seen in previous panels, as needs evolve from local challenges to global crises. Stergitsa, as the CEO of the Hellenic Initiative Australia, how do you decide where to focus your efforts? What guides your choices about where your impact can be most meaningful?
Thank you, Faye. Can I start? I think the common theme here is mothers, and my mother was my champion. Would have been her name day today, and she's coming up to 1 year passing on the 3rd of December, so I can...
we acknowledge her and respect
Vicky,
her.
the whole concept of ginonia and ecclesia, that's where the concept of giving and understated giving came to for me. So I was fortunate enough to continue with philanthropy at the University of New South Wales before stepping into this role. In terms of THI Australia, I think what people don't appreciate, we are a global movement. We started off in the US in 2012. Australia 2014, Canada 2016, and we've also got a presence in the UK. And this really came about with the humanitarian crisis in 2010, 2012. To date, I think collectively all those chapters, we've given back over $20 million US. And that's in economic aid and humanitarian aid. Yeah. THI Australia focuses...
$20 million.
Take a pause. I'm mindful of the time. So THI Australia, we focus on 5 program pathways. So we have health, social services, education, arts and culture, and employment pathways. So all very important streams. We do look at health, social services are the 2 that are most called upon. And we have some talented NGOs that we work with. And then, interestingly enough, at least 5 of the NGOs were all founded by women, young women, who decided how can they give back during the economic crisis. So there's MOS, The Tipping Point, even Doctors of the World, their president is a Greek. She came out earlier this year for our 10-year anniversary. So we have a program committee that does look at all the various proposals, and it's based on that. It's not necessarily based on numbers. I know some people look at the success of philanthropy, how many people are you going to impact, but it's really where we can make a difference. And that can just be one family who's not going to be evicted and out on the streets in Athens or Bidau. And so, look, we've got a terrific board and we've got directors here. They're all volunteers. We're a truly national organisation. We have directors in every capital city. We raise... It's hard to... there's just so much that we do that I'm very proud of. I mean, 2018 I joined the THI family and it just truly resonates because for me it's the people, it's the beneficiaries, not necessarily the $100,000 grant, but it's the difference we're making on the...
So is there a particular program you wanted to highlight that's created that most meaningful impact, whilst noting that all the areas of your work are important?
There are 2 that come to mind. Doctors of the World Greece, so that's an international organisation. We support the Greek chapter of that. We've been able to help more than 4,000 people within a 12-month period with a grant. It's a substantial grant for us, a $100,000 grant, but it's making a huge difference. And those 4,000 people have multiple visits. These are people who don't have healthcare, not because they're lazy or... I mean, I met one person who said to me, Stergitsa, I just want to leave 2 more years to get a part pension because then I won't be in the shelter. So these are people who are proud. He was a 58-year-old man who lost his job during the crisis and he said, who's going to employ me now? So, there is so many stories like that resonate.
Incredible stories.
But the other one is Emphasis, again, so that was set up by Maria Carrà. She actually set up that charity while she was working in Dubai and wanted to give back during the crisis. So these charities have been going for at least 10 years and that to us is important. They're not sort of just a short-term fix. They're looking at long-term strategies and they work with the homeless people. So I was in Greece 2 weeks ago and had the chance of visiting 4 people we've helped within their homes. And they're just, they may not have much trimmings in their home. One was an amputee, but he was fussing over us, Kiria mo tina su prosfero. Touched by, I wanted to learn about Australia. They're still very proud, and that's where the charities, the dignity they show these beneficiaries is what warms my heart. Yeah. If someone's lying on a bench, the psychologist will kneel down so she's facing him in the eye.
So really bringing that face of humanity to that connection.
And I think that's also the difference with women in philanthropy. Those stories resonate and keep me going.
Create the connection. Thank you, Stergitsa. So the future of philanthropy will be shaped for our diaspora by young Greek leaders, social entrepreneurs, digital communities who carry Philotimo into new spaces, proving that tradition can evolve without losing heart. Helen, you're currently Director of the Hellenic Museum and Foundation Board Member of the Australian Ballet. What do you think about forward-thinking models and responsiveness for creating community impact across the arts and cultural sectors? And from your perspective, 2 questions, sorry, Helen, double barrel. From your perspective, how might the rising generation of Greek women and men influence the evolving landscape of philanthropy?
Well, Faye, you gave me some pretty tough questions.
I did.
Thank you to the Ambassador. I have to say today has really been about storytelling and what do you think philanthropy is all about? Storytelling. And if I answer the first part of your question, Faye, which is really about forward-thinking community impact, I've got a few things I'd like to share with you. The first one is that I believe philanthropy in particular, there's going to be a blurring of lines between philanthropy and storytelling. And by that I mean that philanthropy for a long time actually sat in the boardroom and now it sits in the story. So what you're seeing is all of us on the panel here constantly trying to navigate and challenge the narrative around how we can engage with the community. The reality is philanthropy is a small pond. It's getting smaller. It's coming from the same donors. It's not coming from a huge breadth of people. So we have to get really, really good at telling the story, because in the past it's been about just giving money, but actually storytelling's about meaning. And the future, I think, one of the future-proofing points will be the combination of storytelling and giving. So as an example, the Hellenic Museum just recently, actually, some of you may be a fan of Konstantinos Argyros. I know a lot of the women are anyway. He came to Australia and as part of his concert tour actually donated a portion of his ticket price to the Hellenic Museum Children's Gallery. Now he's also a supporter of THI, but as you can imagine, we were absolutely blown away. What that did for us is gave us a global platform to start talking about our message. But in order to get to that point, the amount of work we had to do in order to engage him and tell the story. We had to approach him with a proposal. We had to talk about music, the arts, the importance of giving to children. So I guess that's one point as to, storytelling and philanthropy blurring as one example. The other thing I'd say is it's shifting definitely from transactions to transformation. As I said before, one of the greatest problems that I think we all have is it's a small pool of donors. When you talk about philanthropy, it's really hard. We're often going to the same people and asking for money. And so what you're seeing with a lot of organisations now that they're thinking about the next generation of philanthropy. I know we are at the Hellenic Museum. We certainly are at the Australian Ballet. There's an ambassadors program because a lot of these philanthropists that have been giving a lot of money will not live forever. And so the sustainability of these programs relies heavily on that next generation. And you know, the irony of it all is that young people actually don't want to just donate. What we're seeing is you've heard of this term activist culture. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, the reality is they want a seat at the table. They actually want to participate. So you're going to see a lot of philanthropy shifting towards experiences, eventing, platforms, lots of human storytelling. I think that's incredibly crucial. Guess who was the biggest audience post the Konstantinos Argyros event for the Hellenic Museum? It was young females. So we have been inundated with requests from young females to participate at the Hellenic Museum and actually give time to supporting us around the Children's Gallery. Which is absolutely fantastic. So we're also talking about a generation that is not like our parents in terms of how they give. So our parents would give with not too many questions. That next generation is really questioning where their money's going and what we're doing with it. So, and also, in some ways, many of you would argue sadly, but they're saying, what's in it for me? And the reality is with philanthropy that's actually shifting, and we just have to be ahead of the curve. It doesn't mean they don't want to give, but what's the benefit to them as well? And that's the reality of some of the modelling we're facing. The other one is, and the Honourable Justice Chrissa Lucas touched on it, which was around technology and expanding that reach. The great thing about technology is it does expand reach, and the great thing about humanity is it expands meaning. The challenge we've got around AI and philanthropy is what's it all going to look like? And I sit on the Council of Melbourne Grammar School, which is, a pretty impressive private school in Melbourne, and we are constantly debating how AI is going to, and because all the kids are on it, they're on ChatGPT, that's how they communicate. The big question for us is, okay, that's all good and well, but how do we teach them about leadership and empathy as part of that modelling? And Chrissy, you talked about it. It was just so spot on, because that is really the challenge around philanthropy for us. So models like that, where we've nailed the technology as well as the human side, I think is a big tick for us. And then very quickly, I know we're on time, but the second part of the question, how the next generation of Greek women will influence philanthropy, I think it's really interesting because I believe that they're going to lead with identity and not obligation. In my opinion, most of the strongest philanthropic models are from people who are stepping forward because they've lived it. And we've heard stories today where the oxygen's been sucked out of the room. And I'm sure many of you probably reached for your pocket or your checkbook or your credit card and thought, wow, I could give to that because you told such an incredible story of how I can engage. So I think that people will continue to involve themselves in causes where they feel they need to be and it connects with them. And I think, Greek women in particular are really fantastic at keeping family and ancestry alive, and giving it agency. You would know, Faye, that if you have a daughter that's been visiting a parent that's going through dementia or whatever, the chances are that they'll probably, once that parent passes on, get involved with your organisation, Fronditha, and support them. So yes, we know that there is that connection piece. And interestingly, one of the most significant donors at the Hellenic Museum, she was gifted the arts by her parents when she was a young child, and as they passed on, she decided she wanted to pay that forward. So we're seeing those sorts of examples where identity leads, not obligation. The other thing that I would say is I just think women are going to lead with incredible, creative, modern and loud voices. You may all be interested to know that podcasting has increased, I would say, by triple in the last 10 years alone for female founders. So what you're going to see is digital communities, giving circles that are really different as to how we approach. One of our biggest donors at the Australian Ballet, she's commissioned buildings, she's commissioned ballets. They're really looking at different and modern and loud and exciting and dynamic ways of engaging with their community and giving dollars to really impactful things. It's my belief that women will broaden access and really reshape systems, which I think is fantastic.
Like Chrissa said, the power of the sisterhood.
Yeah, the power of the sisterhood.
The power of the sisterhood.
Love that.
So,
and then the last point I want to make is that what's been really interesting for me in my journey is I haven't always necessarily existed in Greek organisational environments. Of late, I've really started to give back because I'm quite passionate about that. But I think as a Hellenic woman, what's been really fantastic for me is actually pushing the boundaries outside of Hellenic organisations. So I was the first Greek to enter council for Melbourne Grammar School, a 167-year-old institution that never had a Greek individual on that board, let alone a female. And then you talk about the Australian Ballet, which has been traditionally very, very Anglo-Saxon. Again, it's pushing outside of our culture in order to connect with people, which I think is a really, really important point for some of the younger women in the room in particular, as you're adding more and more tools into your tool chest. And I think that women, the last point I want to make, are just emotionally intelligent beings. Like you have heard, sorry, men.
No argument there.
But they really do lead with empathy and intellect and intuition and strategy and all the amazing things that make philanthropy so incredible. We're not afraid to talk about our trauma, our healing, our reinvention. And I think that is, incredibly important for and if there's ever a time, it's for me aspirationally, and I've talked to the women about this on the panel, but aspirationally I'd like to see organisations like Fronditha and the church and Haki and Hellenic Museum and THI all working together, because the Jewish community does it. And the reality is that I think if that is to ever succeed, it will be a woman fronting it, because it requires less ego. It requires intellect, empathy and all the great things that women bring to the table. So,
And there you go, the gauntlet is down.
sorry?
The gauntlet is laid down.
It's absolutely.
The opportunity is there for all of us to take that up. Just before we close the panel, just a reflection from each of you. Thank you, Helen, for all your comments and sharing your thoughts. How do you think Greek women in the future, Helen, you've already reflected on this, but what advice would you give them around philanthropy? And then we'll go to Stergitsa and the other panellists. Final words of advice?
Look, I think Greek women have always been the keepers of legacy, and I think the next generation are going to be really architects of change. My advice to some of the younger participants here is get involved, add as many layers and tools in the tool chest as you possibly can. Look at life differently. Like some of the women in the audience, I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 45 years of age. No family history, bang, like that. It's amazing what that does to change your lens and what type of legacy you want to leave behind. So I would say to you, participate, get involved. That would be my...
Stergitsa?
Certainly participation is the key, and I think my experience at the University of New South Wales, where we sort of really look to the Americans in terms of philanthropy, the Greek Australian community's got a long way to go. Even as families, PAFs, private ancillary funds, don't exist. I'm used to having donors where they'll sit down with their family and discuss how much they would give to scholarships for disadvantaged kids at UNSW.
So opportunity for us to reframe in Australia.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Alex, final words?
I want to tell you, to all of them, the first thing, the philanthropy, like I started with my parents, my kids, they learn from me, and the other kids in the school, or whatever, or friends around in Adelaide, I say, don't call me Kyria, Yaya or Thea, and follow me. That's the best. And Peter Malanauskas, the Premier, he say, Australia Day, I open my house, and we're doing fundraise with the Labor, of course. They're helping a lot. And they say, we can't say no to Alexandra, but she didn't want to say Kyria. Kyria είναι η Παναγία. I was baptized Alexandra. My name, ο Thea, ο Yaya. Thea είναι γύφτικο, δεν πειράζει. I'm asking for a money. I am γύφτα because I'm asking for a money. Where's the point now? Stop saying καθαρίστρια. Don't stop me to say I'm καθαρίστρια. People, they asking me, what kind of job you doing? Καθαρίστρια. They stop like that. And I say, I'm cleaning my house. And don't forget, my daddy say, when you clean and find a piece of paper, open it and read on that paper. Might be something good, something you didn't know and you can learn from there. Go a bit further, find money, check your pocket. If it's yours, keep it. If it's not, give it to somebody else, the nation. Open your pants, give it for the Christmas carols.
Thank you, Alex.
Go a bit further, you can find something else you didn't like it. That's my advice.
Beautiful,
Keep
beautiful.
going, smile on your face. Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicky, and a final comment, Vicky?
Just very quickly, I think to go forward, we look back behind because they were people that laid those foundations and we just add to those foundations. Always create a platform of trust. If you have a platform of trust, people will give you money, they will give you help. And I can say that always be kind, passionate, and compassionate. And that person who gives you $1 or has an hour to spare as a volunteer, be so grateful to them on the same terms as somebody who gave you $10,000, because that dollar to that person may be everything. And they gave with all their hearts, or that hour they didn't have, but they gave with all their hearts. And above all, we praise God and thank Him because His hand is in everything. Thank you.
Thank you. So in closing, I just wanted to say that obviously we've witnessed today living examples of women who didn't wait for permission to make a difference. And Helen, Alexandra, Vicky and Stergitsa, on behalf of everyone here today, I close with deep gratitude for your instincts to do what's right, not because it's expected, but because it's honourable. Thank you for your impulse to help, to give, to uplift, for modelling responsibility for community, family, for tradition, and a deep commitment to acting with humanity. And most of all, thank you for your leadership, your generosity, and inspiring us all here today. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.